what's going on, guys? It's Jay Mass, and I'm back again with another dope New England adventure. And today I got a pretty brief but interesting abandoned location. So I'm currently in the state of Vermont right now. More specifically, I'm in the city of Winooski, Vermont, located right across the river from Burlington, Vermont, which is, of course, the largest city in Vermont, not too far away from Lake Champlain. And here in Winooski, we have an abandoned pump house we're going to be exploring. And I'm actually standing directly inside it right now. Obviously, I'll show you guys around in a bit, but I just want to give you some brief introductory historical context of this place. So this abandoned pump house, unfortunately, I don't know exactly when it was built. I also don't know exactly when it was abandoned. However, it was once attached to a mill. This was actually a wool mill, today just known as the Woolen Mill. It's actually apartments today, but back in the day, it was built in 1881 as the Colchester-Merino Mill. Later on, it was acquired by American Woolen Mills, becoming a part of the massive American Woolen Company conglomerate that was here in New England. And it lasted many years, operating until 1954 when it officially closed down. So that leads me to believe that this pump house, which, basically powered that mill, was probably built sometime between 1881 and 1954. Again, in terms of this specific building, not sure when it was built, not sure when it was abandoned, but the mill that's nearby was built in 1881, abandoned in 1954. So you can kind of draw a conclusion from there. But basically, as the name suggests, this was a pump house that, powered the mills, and its machinery and equipment made it operate smoothly. So we're going to check that out. I'm really interested to explore this pump house. This is actually one I really didn't know until recently. I actually found out about it last week, and I knew I wanted to come up here and explore it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But as always, guys, before we get into it, my name is Jay Mass. If you love urban exploration, checking out abandoned sites, traveling New England and beyond, I'm always doing that on the channel, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. Shout out to all my members. You can see them right there, my lovely members. If you want to become a member, that would be greatly appreciated. You'd be supporting me and the channel directly. Or you can follow me on Instagram at JMassOfficial. That's at JMassOfficial. But we're going to start exploring this abandoned pump house, the Woolen Mill pump house, here in the city of Winooski, Vermont. I'm pretty excited to see what's got in store. All right, guys, so we're going to get started and explore this abandoned pump house here in the city of Winooski, Vermont. And you can see this thing is actually pretty damn big. You wouldn't expect a pump house to be as big as this is, but I mean, lo and behold, this thing is probably like 3 stories tall. It's a pretty damn tall building. Obviously, we can't really go up. As you can see, there are no floorboards up there, so we're really going to be on the bottom floor right here. But I just want to start from inside instead of outside, just because there's really not as much to see outside. I just want to get right into it. And also, this is going to be a pretty brief exploration. There's admittedly not a whole lot to see here. It is a pretty small spot, but nonetheless, I want to check this place out. As I mentioned, I didn't even know this abandoned site existed until last week. So this is actually a pretty recent find for me. Although I'm sure if you're from the Burlington, Vermont area, you're probably familiar with it. But anyways, yeah, let's get started and explore this pump house. So you can see right here, we have what looks to be a massive water wheel. And if for whatever reason you don't know how a pump house worked, it basically harnessed water, in this case, water from the nearby Winooski River right over there. It harnessed water, turned it into energy, and that energy powered the nearby wool mill. Now, I will get into a little more brief history about this place. Obviously, the pump house itself, I unfortunately don't have a lot to say just because I don't know the exact history of this specific building. But the nearby wool building, I do have some stuff I can tell you about it. There's actually not a lot of room to walk around here, I will admit. But basically, the Woolen Mill, as it's today known, the Woolen Mill, was originally built as the Colchester-Merino Mill in 1881. And as the name suggests, it was a woolen mill producing wool, textiles, and materials. Operated for many years until being acquired by the American Woolen Company in 1901. And some viewers of the channel might actually recognize the American Woolen Company name because literally just a couple weeks ago, I actually explored another abandoned American Woolen Company property in Norwich, Connecticut. So I guess this marks the second one I've explored, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they acquired it in 1901, again, operated for many years. Operations peaked during World War II, but by 1954, after the war had concluded, it basically, closed down and it's now abandoned. And again, I don't know when this pump house was established and abandoned, but you can kind of conclude it was between that time. So that's really the context we have. Let's explore the pump house. So the main thing that's interesting to me is this massive area down here. Look at this. I was gonna try to get down here, but I don't think I can because I just don't see a place I can step down. I also don't think it's safe. I mean, this is where I'm standing right now for reference. Look how far down that drops. I mean, that's a deep drop. But this thing goes pretty far back. There's something of a little dugout right here. You can see dug into the earth. And then there's this massive machine right here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the turbine. So I think this was the water wheel, and I think this was the turbine. And then you can see there's some massive piping here. Again, I'm not an industrialist by any means. I could be wrong, so don't take my words as gospel, but I'm fairly certain that's what we're looking at. The wheel right here, the turbine right here. At the very least, I know we're looking at some heavy machinery and equipment, and you can see there is a lot of industrial equipment left behind in here. Again, this was used to power energy from the waters of the Winooski River. And I will show you at the end of the video the Winooski River, because there's actually a dam and a little waterfall over there today, which was probably what produced all that energy. But it was needed to power the mills. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I'm getting down there. I actually wanted to go down there, but this is really risky. And then of course you guys probably saw this already, but you just got a massive couch just sitting here, a random ass couch. I mean, what's an abandoned location without a couch? You know, you gotta find a place to chill while you're exploring. Though there's no way I'm sitting on this thing. Look how dirty and disgusting it is. A lot of interesting graffiti though. As you can see, this was almost entirely made out of brick, but you can see there's been a lot of graffiti on the brick. I did kind of glance at this one, but this is some cool graffiti right here. Check that out. Interesting stuff. And then I do just want to show you up above. Now I read online this is a 3-story tower. Not 100% sure how true that is, but I think I can see it. It looks like there was a floorboard here and a floorboard up there, so I would say this is probably 3 stories. You can see up there too. You can see the roof has collapsed. A lot of the flooring has collapsed. So at one point you could probably go far up on this tower. Today, the only accessible point is down below. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, this was probably a very risky thing to do, but just to give you guys a better view over here, I'm standing quite precariously on this corner of the building right here. You can see I got a long drop below me onto some heavy equipment, so I'm gonna try to be careful, but I just want to show you guys a better view over here. Check that out. Pretty cool stuff. And then this is the massive piping. Huge thing. Again, I think this is the turbine, I'm pretty sure. Whatever it was though, it was clearly used to power the mills nearby. I will also try to give you a glimpse of the Woolen Mill after this, but damn, interesting spot. I really want to go down there. I just don't see a safe way to get down there. I also don't see a safe way to get back up. I don't know, maybe someone braver than me has attempted it. I mean, clearly you can see there's graffiti down here, but pretty cool. I just wanted to show you guys that, but I think I'm gonna head back over. All right, guys, so we're gonna be leaving the inside of the pump house, but I did just want to give you one last look at the inside. I mean, just all of this industrial equipment and machinery that's been left behind. Super interesting to see. I'm actually quite surprised it's as intact inside as it is, you know, all this stuff left behind. And of course, even just seeing like the architecture, like the arches, the brickwork, really cool to see. Looks like it's mostly made of brick and concrete from what I can tell. But yeah, this is the inside of the pump house. And I do just want to show you the outside now. As you can see, we're in the middle of the woods right now. Again, the Winooski River's right over there. But this is the outside of the pump house. Check that out. Pretty cool stuff. Now, interestingly, it is kind of fenced off right here, although there's a hole I just walked through. And then you go over here and you can see a lot more equipment left behind. Check this out. Not really sure what this is, but whatever it is, it's something just sitting here. And then over here is a massive pipe. Now there's actually a better view of it on the other side, which I'll show you right now. So if we actually walk over here on the other side of this pump house, you'll see there is an absolutely massive pipe. Look at that. I mean, at one point you have to consider this pipe was critical to powering the mills. And that right there is the Woolen Mill. Built in 1881, abandoned in 1954. That mill directly in front of us, the Woolen Mill, once owned by the American Woolen Company, that's what this pump house powered. It powered it completely. Now, as I mentioned, this mill is apartments now. It's actually not abandoned at all. It's actually seeing pretty widespread use, but yeah, this is the pipe that once led to the pump house. Got a little bit of almost looks like a riverbed or something, some sort of pond right over there, but this pipe led to the pump house right here, which powered the woolen mill. And one more thing I do want to mention, which is kind of interesting, is just a brief mention, the flood of 1927. Now, apparently here in Winooski, there was a massive, disastrous flood, the flood of 1927, that severely impacted a lot of the mills working in the city of Winooski. And of course, this one right here, you know, the American Woolen Company mill was one of them. And I assume that also affected the pump house. Now, again, not a lot of specific information online about the pump house itself, but you have to consider, since this thing was harnessing so much water energy, I'm sure the flood of 1927, which was disastrous for the mills, was probably equally as bad for the pump house. I'm sure this thing was flooded with water. I mean, the pipes were probably close to bursting. Maybe they even did burst. But you have to consider with how much water was flooding at that time, this pump house was probably overworked. I'm curious, you know, what it would have looked like at that time. Really quickly, I do just want to show you guys right over here. This body of water you're currently looking at is the Winooski River. And the abandoned pump house that we just explored would have once harnessed energy from this river right here. So this over here is the city of Winooski. And then right over there, I believe, is the city of Burlington, the largest city in Vermont. And this is the river that divided them, the Winooski River. Now you can see there's a pretty heavy mill presence. I mean, there's one right over there. And this right here is the Woolen Mill. This is the mill that the pump house, you know, basically once powered right here. Again, today it's apartments. Back in the day, would have been producing textiles, wool materials, all that stuff. And then right over here, which is pretty cool, is a dam. This is a hydroelectric dam, as you can see. Looks like we can actually walk down here. Now, obviously, for the record, this is not abandoned. It's still in use, this portion right here. But I did just want to show you guys while we were here that this is a pretty active area. A lot of stuff going on. It's still a pretty pivotal river. You can see right here, the Great Falls on the Winooski River. Feel free to pause if you want to read it. But it kind of goes over the economic importance and significance of the river right here. Even this right here goes over Winooski becoming a mill town. Check that out. And then we got one last plaque over here. Boom, bust, and renewal. Going over the more modern history of the mills. So yeah, as you can see, Winooski was a pretty important mill town for the Burlington metro area, especially for Upper Vermont. Today, the mills are still here, but being reused and repurposed. Pretty cool stuff. Doesn't look like the dam is really in use right now. Actually looks completely dry. If I'm not mistaken, we are in a bit of a drought right now, but pretty cool. I'll give you guys one last view, and then I think that's about it. Yeah, there we go, the Winooski River. Hey, thank you guys for joining me. I've been J-Mass as always, and this has been another dope New England adventure. And today we explored the abandoned Woolen Mill pump house here in the city of Winooski, Vermont. Now, while I don't know too many specific details about the pump house itself, I do know that the woolen mill it serviced opened up in 1881 as the Colchester-Merino Mill, peaked during World War II, and eventually closed down in 1954. Now, while the woolen mill itself is apartments today, the pump house is completely abandoned and disheveled, as we saw, completely neglected, but really interesting to explore. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, it was a pivotal piece of industry here in the state of Vermont. Now, I thought it was really fun to check this place out. As I mentioned, the abandoned pump house is actually a place I only found out about recently, literally last week. I didn't know about it until last week, but I was already coming up to Vermont anyways this weekend, so I was like, you know what? While I'm here, might as well check it out. And I'm glad I did. It was a really fun exploration. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the rest of my weekend here in Vermont. I'm going to be checking out the city of Burlington next, one of my favorite cities in New England. And then I'm going to do some camping tonight. But as always, guys, my name is J-Mass. If you love urban exploration, checking out abandoned sites, traveling New England and beyond, I'm always doing that on the channel, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. Also, shout out to all my lovely members. You can see them all right here. They're also known as explorers, and if you want to become an explorer, supporting me and the channel directly, feel free to do that today. It would be greatly appreciated. Or you can follow me on Instagram at JMassOfficial. That's at JMassOfficial. But I've been J-Mass. That was the abandoned Woolen Mill pump house here in Winooski, Vermont. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.